More and more people are becoming what is called spiritual and not religious, all around the world, here in Australia as well. People are considering themselves not atheist, you know, it's not like atheism is flooding the globe in numbers and percentages of people, but many people are dropping out of or not recognizing themselves as being a part of a particular religious faith or tradition. So they're describing and experiencing themselves as being spiritual but not religious. So this is some of the ideas that we wanted to kind of explore, because religion implies that there's a certain dogma. Dogma means a set of beliefs that, you know, you kind of declare, yes, I believe this, and therefore I consider myself to be of a particular faith or a particular religion, whether it be Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish faith, whatever it may be. And there is a certain path that I'm following, there's certain ideas that I adhere to, maybe there's certain rituals that I engage in, and therefore a person then considers themselves to be a religious person and part of that particular religion. This idea of religion is not found in the Vedic or yoga tradition. There is a very wonderful understanding of what is called Sanatana Dharma. So this is what I want to speak a little bit on tonight. It's called Sanatana Dharma. And how I'd like to start is to actually read something from Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is my spiritual teacher's teacher. And this is something from the introduction to his translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Quote, Sanatana Dharma is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Soul. Sanatana Dharma refers to the eternal occupation of the living entity. The word Sanatan is explained as that which has neither beginning nor end. So Sanatan means that which has neither a beginning nor an end. In other words, it is eternal. So when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, it should be understood to have neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. So keep that also to the forefront. Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living being cannot be taken from the living being. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integrated with the living entity. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business or activity of all the people of the world, nay, of all living entities of the universe. So there's quite a bit there to unpack, but if we can grasp this idea, Sanatana Dharma, like everyone's heard of the word karma, you know, we talked about that last week, it's used in our everyday common language, even here in the Western countries. Dharma also is a word which we hear regularly. So the idea I wanted to touch on first is understanding that we are the eternal spiritual being. By nature, we are not a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Jew, because we are not these temporary bodies that we are walking around in. We are not the ever-changing ideas in the mind, the thoughts, the things like... The mind is described very elaborately in the yoga text, but one of the things that is described of the nature of the mind is that it is always accepting and rejecting something. At one moment, it may accept a certain belief, a certain idea, a certain view of life, and at the very next moment, you'll find that the mind puts forward arguments and ideas completely opposed to that. Has anyone had that experience with their mind? You ever walked into Baskin Robbins and there's 32 choices there? I want vanilla, no, I want strawberry, no, I want vanilla, I want... This is a very simple example, but on a deeper level, I like this person, I hate this person. I like this person, I don't like that person. This is... So throughout our whole life, we find this is the nature of the mind. It's always, it will accept something at one moment, then it will reject something at another moment. So it's always changing. So our body is also always changing. The body which we have today is not the same body we had 3 years ago. It is a completely 100% different body. The changes the body goes through. So similarly, one may actually change their faith. One may actually have a particular faith at one stage, one point in their life. They may consider themselves to be a Hindu, and then they may change and they may become a Christian. Or someone might be a Christian and then they convert and they may become a Muslim. Have you heard of this idea? Maybe some of us have done it. Maybe some of us have been through that process of conversion from one faith to another faith. I haven't looked at it into it deeply, but I have noticed on the internet there are a lot of people putting up videos of converting someone who used to be a Christian and now they're a Muslim, or someone who used to be a Muslim and then they're getting baptized or something into the Christian faith. So the idea I'm trying to convey here is that faith or religion is something which we can change. Is that understandable? It's not therefore eternal. It is not Sanatan, which means eternal. It is changeable. So Sanatan Dharma, so now we come to the word Dharma. It can be variously translated or explained or understood in a variety of ways according to context. But in this context, what we're looking at is what is the intrinsic nature of something. It's intrinsic, which means unchangeable. It's not added on from the outside. It's not something that someone gives us. It is intrinsic. So in that passage I read, there are two examples. Just as heat and light are intrinsic to fire and cannot be separated from it, like if something doesn't have the qualities of heat and light, you can know it's not fire, correct? If something's cold and dark, well, you're not going to call that fire because you know intrinsically fire has these qualities of heat and light. And then also the example was given that the quality of wetness cannot be separated from water. It is intrinsic. It is there. Wetness and water are intrinsic. It's intrinsic nature. So just to check whether you're actually getting this or you're just kind of having a nod off until the meal, I'm going to ask you someone to let me know what is the Dharma of sugar. 3 people are listening. That's very good. The Dharma of sugar is sweetness. You cannot separate the sweetness from sugar and then call it sugar. It is an intrinsic part of it. And those of you who are on a sugar-free diet, we just have to take our word for it. That sugar is by nature sweet. If something is crystal-like, and it's of the size that sugar crystals are, but it does not have the qualities of sweetness, you can know it's not sugar. And anyone who's ever put salt in a cake will know exactly what I'm talking about. Because when you go to eat it, you go, you didn't put sugar in this cake, you put salt in it, right? Because you know the intrinsic nature of sugar, the Dharma of sugar, is its sweetness. Are we okay so far to these ideas? So now we're going to be looking at what is the intrinsic nature of you, of me. What is our Sanatan Dharma? What is our intrinsic nature? So we first touched on the idea that we are spiritual in essence. We're not going to delve deeply into that idea. We cover this regularly. We are not these physical bodies that we are walking around in, as we said. We are not the mind, all the desires, etc. These things are ever-changing, so they are also not Sanatan. So, what is that which is unchanging? Well, we, the self, the living being, the Atma, you are eternal. You are unchanging. The body has a beginning, the baby body comes along. We're living in the baby body. Then, the young boy or girl body is there, the little baby body, the young body, the youth body, the adult body, the old body, and then finally the body cannot be worn or used anymore, so we leave that body. So the body is changing. It is not me, but I, as we went through in the earlier meditation, aham brahmasmi, I am spirit. I am not this material body or mind. I am eternal, part of the Supreme Soul. This is part of my intrinsic nature. I cannot die. The living being, for life, there is never birth nor death. There is no such thing as birth, and therefore there is no such thing as death for the living being, for you and I. Because life is always life, and we are life, living force. Now other than that, what is our intrinsic nature? What is our activity? What is it that we like to do across the board? Whether we are Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Jew, young, old, Australian, American, Japanese, whatever it might be, what is it which is common to every single living being? And as we also read, not just human beings, but all living entities who are also life force, spark of life. Not just human beings have a soul. There's this idea of, we have a soul. Just to make this slight detour here, a point. No one here has a soul. No one. Do you know that? You don't have a soul. Anyone shocked by that? Did you think you had a soul and now I'm saying you don't have one? This does not mean that you are your body. It means that you do not have something called a soul. You are the soul. That is you. That is who you are. You are the spirit soul, and you have a body. They're actually different things. Because if I have a soul, who am I? If I have a soul, who am I who possesses that soul? What is my real identity? The reality is I am that eternal spiritual being, the spirit soul, if you want to use that term, and I have a body, different kinds of bodies. So now let us dive a little deeper into our Dharma, our Sanatana Dharma. If we look around the world, we look at ourselves, our own life, we have a natural longing to love and to be loved. Does anyone here not want to love and be loved? Our whole life is actually a search for love. From when we are young and we are hoping that our mum and dad and our siblings will love us. And then as we grow, of course, we then have friends at school or friends in the neighbour or siblings. So we want affection, we want love, we want friendship. And we are looking for it. And then, of course, when we reach our adolescent years, it kicks in big time. And we really are just really looking for love. Of course, we look in the wrong places sometimes, and then we get what's called heartbroken, a broken heart. And that happens a few times, and then we kind of are more reluctant to look for love again. We're reluctant to give ourselves so easily and so freely and so completely to someone else, because the most tender thing and the most precious thing we have is our love. There is nothing more precious than our love. We can easily give up a car. You can even give up one of these. As precious as these are, and as much as we freak out when we think we've lost them, and if we're separating them out of arm's reach, you ever done that? Kind of walked out of a cafe and kind of freaked out and thought you'd lost one of these things? So this means they're very dear to us. But we are even willing to give up one of these for true love. People are even willing to give up their life for love. That's how precious love is, isn't it? Is this not true? We're actually willing to give our life for love, for the person that we love. Not just a generic thing called love, but actually for the person whom we love. And in fact, we read about it regularly where this happens. So I think maybe we can agree that part of our intrinsic nature, inseparable from us, the Atma, the living being, is the desire to love and to be loved. And as we talk about regularly, when we actually are in love, there are many things which grow from that, many things that are connected to that. If we love someone, we want to be with them, don't we? If you want to get away from them, it's probably not love. You want to be with them. And you want to do things together with that person that you love. So love is active. It is an active thing. It's not just an emotion or just a feeling. It is actually active. You do things with and for the person that you are loving. Are we on board up to this point? Anyone disagree with my short description of love? We've all experienced this. This is actually a fact. So love actually, as is said, love is a verb. A verb means a doing word. That's what I learnt at school. A verb means a doing word. It's different than a noun. So we want to give love, and we want to receive love, and we want to engage in loving activities with that person that we love. So this is described in the yoga teaching as the Sanatana Dharma of every living being. Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Jew, atheist, agnostic, cat, dog, cockroach, ant. Everybody's looking for love. Everybody wants to experience love. So this is the Sanatana Dharma of the living being. So when this natural, intrinsic nature, Dharma of the self, of the soul, it is, to use the word religion, because actually, if you go into the meaning of the word religion, it also means to unite. You know how the word yoga means to connect or to link up or union? The root of the word religion also means to unite, to connect, to come together. So the religion, the Dharma, of every living being, which is unchangeable. You cannot change from being an eternal spiritual being, an Atma. You cannot change from the desire to love and to be loved and to be active in that loving relationship. That cannot be changed. You cannot renounce that and become something else. That is our intrinsic nature, like heat and light cannot be separated from fire. Similarly, the desire to love, to be loved, and to be active in that relationship is our eternal Dharma or activity. So up to this point, is there anything that's not clear before we move on? So when that natural intrinsic nature is directed towards the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Living Being, that is called the natural religion or Dharma of each living being. This is the true religion of the soul, of the living being, of you and I, is when we are in a loving, harmonious, reciprocal relationship with the Supreme Soul. And we are active in that relationship. It is much different than worship or prayer. Because we were just explaining, and you all agreed, I think, that love is actually an activity, not just a feeling. There is actually action, activity. What is called in yoga terms, bhakti or seva. Bhakti means loving, devotional service. To do something for that person whom I am loving so that they are happy and they are pleased, they are joyful. It is in their joy that I experience my joy. It is in their happiness that I experience my happiness. In their sadness, If there's someone you love and there's sadness, what do you experience in your heart? Do you experience joy when the one you love is sad? No, you experience their sadness also. This is the nature of love. So the real religion of every living being has nothing to do with the external labels and declarations of dependence upon, or I am part of this particular faith, whether it be Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, yoga, or anything like that. So what I wanted to read is a little bit about the nature of yoga, just to give us a bit more of a clear idea of what we're doing here tonight. Because what we're engaging in is called yoga. Remembering that yoga means the connecting up, the union, the harmonious relationship between the individual self and the Supreme Soul. So yoga is a process of self-discovery, a process of uncovering or clearing away what's keeping us from understanding our true identity and value. It is a process that one follows to clear the cobwebs of the mind, intelligence and heart, so that he can see and understand himself, others, and the world clearly as they are. The truth of our identity is intrinsic and inseparable from us. Realizing one's true identity is therefore not a matter of artificially changing one's dress or memorizing a new dogma, which is common in religious traditions. The path of yoga is a personal journey that you yourself must follow to uncover your true identity through direct experience and perception. It is not something which you can join or quit. It is not something that you just believe. It is a process. Those who are self-realized are those who have themselves gone through this process of uncovering the true nature of things. Usually with a religion, people are looking for something to join. Anyway, so it goes on. So practicing yoga is a process. There are values and virtues and practices and techniques which a person adds to their life, to their own personal journey. And what do these techniques and practices and wisdom do? As was said there, it helps to uncover who we actually are. And the example that we use, because it is a good example, if you can think of a diamond which is intrinsically valuable, and it is buried deep within the earth, covered by so many layers of dirt and mud and rocks, you cannot, just simply by like cleansing away, by removing from the diamond, then what is already intrinsically there is now uncovered. So intrinsically, we are who we are, the eternal, loving, living beings who are actually meant to be connected to the divine, to the supreme, and to others through loving devotion. That is already who we are, but it is now covered over by by the material mind, by the body, by material desires, by misconceptions of who I actually am, what my purpose in life is, where happiness is to be found. These are like the rocks and the dirt which is covering me, the living being. So the process of yoga is the process of uncovering who I actually am, not joining something and not simply taking on a set of dogma or belief. So it is by engaging in the process of yoga that we actually can come to the platform of self-realization or self-discovery. It cannot be joined. You cannot join self-discovery. We must personally engage in those activities which will bring about this self-realization. Does that make a little bit of sense? Does it make things a little clearer as far as the question goes, what religion is this? So any activity, any practice, whether it be called Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Jew, whatever it might be, any practice which helps me to grow and to move towards or to achieve enlightenment or self-realization should be taken up. So it's not like, well, you can only do this, again, making something rigid. So, anyway, that could be a whole nother conversation, but I thought I would at least mention that here. So what we're doing tonight, how to purify the heart and mind so that my intrinsic nature will be uncovered or cleansed. This is the practice of meditation upon transcendental sound. So this practice of kirtan, we are hearing and singing and immersing our mind and our heart in transcendental sound or spiritual sounds. So these mantras are names of the Supreme. And again, just a brief aside, when we speak of Krishna, or we chant Gopala or Govinda, we are not singing or chanting the names of a Hindu god or a Buddhist god. These are different names of the one Supreme Being. That's also important to understand. So we're not chanting the names of a Hindu deity. These are different names of the one Supreme Being, who is known by many, many different names, but is still the one Supreme Soul. Should be easy to understand how one person can have many, many different names and still be the same person. Many of you might have a nickname. Like me, I have a lot of names according to who I'm relating to. Like some of you know me as Radha Krishna Das. This is my yoga name, Radha Krishna Das. So if you call me that, I'll answer to it. Some people called me RKD. You know what Australians are like, they shorten everything. And I got friends who call me ARK. Right, from ARK, Radha Krishna Das goes down to RKD, which then goes down to ARK. So if someone says, that was a nice talk by ARK, you might wonder who they're talking about. Well, they're talking about me, Radha Krishna Das. And then, of course, I'm known by my secular name, Brian Raymond Lindsley. So someone might call me Brian. It's not a different person. That's still ARK. Someone might call me Ray because I prefer to be called Ray. That's the name that I prefer to be called as. Someone might call me Mr. Lindsley. These are all different names of me, right? Easy to understand. Similarly, that one Supreme Soul, that original cause, because sometimes people ask, what do you mean by God? A definition found in yoga is the original cause, the cause of all other causes, that which has no cause, but is the cause of everything. That we can say is God, that we can call God. So that one original cause of all causes is known by many, many different names of different cultures and spiritual traditions. So in this yoga tradition in which we are coming, there are many, many, unlimited, hundreds and millions of names of God. And they are all spiritually potent and powerful. There is no difference between the holy name of God and God. So when we immerse ourselves in this transcendental sound of the divine names of the Supreme, it purifies the heart and mind of all of these coverings. These was described as these cobwebs and the dirts and the rock which is covering the diamond within. In other words, us, the pure soul. So that's a little bit about Sanatana Dharma and what religion is this. Thank you very much.